Just weeks after receiving this video, the U.S. Department of Agriculture has ordered the largest beef recall in history.
Hallmark Meat Packing, a company once known for their prestige and true handling of meat products across the USA. But in 2008, the worst recall involving meat would occur, linked directly back to the Hallmark Meat Packing Company. And that brings us into the discussion of this video, as we discuss meat's worst recall. The Hallmark/Westland Meat Packing Company was a California-based meat packaging company, and with it, more specifically, in the city of Chino, California, where the Hallmark/Westland Meat Company was founded and operated from, with the city being an iconic farming town, being founded all the way back in 1910, with their city symbol being a food basket holder all across the city of Chino, California. With the city's extensive history in farming and agriculture overall, the city of Chino, California in lots of respects is the go-to area for a lot of farming-based companies to grow and eventually release their food products overall to the public. And with a population size of over 91,000 people, due to the large population size, it makes it a lot better of an area to have a stabler of a work and transportation force. And just in general, has contributed to California's massive agriculture market, making it the largest in the USA at over $8.48 billion. However, things are not always perfect for this tight-knit community of farmers, ranchers, and just the vast farming community overall, such as in September of 2019, when it was reported that over 24,000 pounds of raw beef were being recalled in connection to contamination, where it was soon reported from the United States Department of Agriculture was unfit for human consumption, and was further traced back to the city of Chino, California, and was reported that the contaminated meat was primarily sent to the states of California and Oregon. And with this extremely long list on what to look out for in the contaminated meat products, and it would only make sense after all, because even though Chino is one of the best and most well-known places that agriculture comes out of, like everywhere else, contamination is almost destined to happen, despite it being a very family-friendly community that be over 100 years has been serving not just their community, but the United States overall. So having a food outbreak to any extent could be very concerning, and not just for the California community, but as figured out, the United States at large, as proven what can happen in a place like Oregon, and even in this recall series, anywhere for that matter. As a matter of fact, and as it would soon be revealed, come 2007, contamination involving the Hallmark/Westland Meat Packing Company would happen in the worst meat recall in the USA. Around the October 7th to November 14th era of 2007, a whistleblower working for the Hallmark/Westland Packing Company would reveal inhumane treatment involving animals at the plants, such as abuse, killing the cows without painkillers, and overall unneeded torture, and the list goes on into the inhumane actions involving the Hallmark/Westland Meat Packing Company. And with the Humane Society of the United States getting involved, an organization devoted to the protection of animals and exploitation of cruelty and inhumane treatment got involved to further discover what was going on. We're following an investigator for the HSUS got access to the Hallmark/Westland farming facilities to figure out how true these abuse and inhumane killing allegations were. And with the investigation from the HSUS investigator quickly discovered and revealed that the Hallmark/Westland whistleblower's accusations were true, as seen in the video, from unneeded tasing and hitting of cattle to even at one point one of the employees using a forklift to push and move one of the cows into a pen. And overall, in the videos, you can tell just how injured in general the cattle was, even without it being shown in video, indicating well before the HSUS investigator started investigating abuse involving the Hallmark/Westland Meat Packing Company. This abuse of cattle was going on well before even the whistleblower revealed what was happening, or even likely knew for that matter. We're soon following, with public outrage from animal protection groups and the general public on what inhumane practices the Hallmark/Westland Meat Packing Company was doing with their animals they were slaughtering. This put the company into a frenzy of controversy. The USDA's Food Safety and Inspection Service got involved to also investigate. We're following, with investigation from the slaughter plants had determined that the meat products were contaminated and not for human consumption due to the overall inhumane treatment that was discovered that was to be happening at the slaughter plants. Because with the overall inhumane slaughter of cattle, such as unneeded tasing, hitting, a lack of food that the cattle was getting made the cattle meat contaminated, and with the USDA deeming that the contaminated cattle was a Class 2 recall, meaning an intermediate threat, which indicates a potential hazard solution which adverse to severe health consequences involving it, and is often a neurovirus, often found in seafood, and has the presence in undirected dry milk ingredients in sausages. With Ed Schleifer, Secretary of Agriculture under the Bush administration, getting involved in the Hallmark Meat Packing Company controversy, indicated that charges had and are being laid at the employees in the alleged plant in Chino, California, for their abusive and inhumane actions, where it was soon reported from the San Bernardino District Attorney they as well had filed charges against the employees responsible for this abuse of animals in the Hallmark Westlands farms, with it as well being reported that the Hallmark Westland Company had fired and terminated the employees responsible for this abuse, with Ed Schleifer as well reporting his disdain towards the Hallmark/Westland Meat Packing Company on their actions during this whole controversy. Regardless, the USDA would step into the controversy when it was discovered what inhumane actions were going on at the Hallmark Westland Company to, in turn, shut down the Hallmark Westland factory associated with the overall abuse against the animals, and as well as overall with the dirty and unkept facilities on the farm, made it much more easier to shut down the toxic and contaminated facilities come January 30th of 2008, but with it left a major problem against not just the Hallmark Westland Meat Packing Company, but in general, the public overall, because come over the years, it was reported that Hallmark Westland meat products were indeed contaminated associated with this abuse and mistreatment against the animals at the farms, dating around 2006, with these primary reports of abuse associated with Hallmark Westland starting around that time, and with it, a starting time to understand what time frame to look out for in this contaminated meat, and come February 17th of 2008, with the Hallmark Westland Meat Packing Company working hand in hand with the USDA to get the contaminated meat off of store shelves from the 2006 to February 2008 time era. But the only problem is, almost 2 years worth of meat all across the United States being recalled is a lot. But due to multiple factors, such as a vast amount of grocery stores across the USA, and when you consider the fact that there are hundreds of them in one city, with, for example, giant retail company Walmart having a report of over 4,500 locations in the USA overall, and with over 2,500 of those locations in cities scattered across the USA. And that is only one example of just how hard a recall of this magnitude could be, not even counting all of the other grocery brands across the USA. But nevertheless, a mass-scale recall was started, and was huge to say the least, because with a report of over 143 million pounds, or around 65 million kilograms, of a variety of meat products being recalled, such as raw and frozen meat products, all being recalled simultaneously, in turn, being considered the largest meat recall in all of United States history, with this all just starting from investigations into animal cruelty allegations, and with it, the Hallmark Westland Meat Packing Company had taken a major hit, both in terms of public opinion and as well as in terms of net worth overall. As a matter of fact, when you look up Hallmark Westland Meat Packing Company online, the only things that really show up associated with the brand is the infamous recall. But if it couldn't get any worse, it was reported that the National Schools Lunch Program over the years had received over 50 million pounds of contaminated meat being shipped into the associated schools involved in the lunch program, with the vast majority of that meat being shipped to Chicago-based schools all across the city, further increasing the mass hate and controversy that by this time the Hallmark Westland Meat Packing Company was already critically dealing with. However, as fate, luck, and overall awareness of the recall was happening, it was reported that 0 people overall passed away pre, during, and from the time of this mass-scale recall was occurring, And when you consider the fact that what the main threat of this recall was bon voine spongiform endocrinolopathy, or known as BSE, or commonly known as mad cow disease. And yes, that weird art-looking painting is a depiction of what BSE looks like. But regardless, all throughout the 2008 time era, after months of recalling and recollecting of the contaminated meat products off of store shelves was worth it, because with the USDA feeling like it was the right thing to do, due to the fact that it was required in protecting the public at large, and since as well as the Hallmark Westward plant had violated the USDA's regulations, that further solidified their actions on going through with the biggest meat recall in United States history. So where is the Hallmark Westland Meat Packing Company today? Well, after the overwhelmingness of lawsuits and litigation, as well as their overall public image destroyed, on top of the cost of having to fight it all, the company was forced to declare bankruptcy as a result of causing the worst meat recall in all of the United States history. So there you have it, meat's worst recall. It really is something on just how one accusation or exposure and corruption of any kind can blow the whole lid on something as major as causing the worst meat recall in US history. But much like Watergate, the 2020 EDP 445 accusations, and just any other controversial thing that has happened in history, it all started as something small, then proceeded to blow up and typically destroy the career of whatever brand or individual that might be, unless you're Logan Paul. But with that, I've been Skipper's Son, and I hope you all have a great day.